Hello, everyone. Welcome back. After finishing The Critic as Artist by Oscar Wilde, I wasn't sure what I was going to read next, and it's been a busy first week back with all of the students in school after winter break. So I was thinking, why not dip into one of my favorite aspects of writing, which is short stories. Spent about half an hour of just free reading time this evening, enjoying a sort of crime short story that I've read before, and it's one I probably return to about maybe not every year, but at least every other year, if not 2 out of every 3 years, since I purchased it probably about 10 years ago. It's one I really enjoyed, and it's a bit of a surprise, but it's The Living Daylights by Ian Fleming. Tremendous short story. Ian Fleming, of course, was the part of sort of the British military and spy service during and then in the aftermath of World War II. And in the 1950s, he created along with Sherlock Holmes, one of the most popular characters coming out of Britain in the past 150 years, James Bond. And so, The Living Daylights is in fact a James Bond story. It starts out, the very first uh, two words of the story are James Bond. James Bond lay at the 500-yard firing point of the famous Century Range at Bisley. The white peg in the grass behind him said 4.4, and the same number was repeated high up on the distant butt above the single 6-foot square target that, to the human eye and in the late summer dusk, looked no larger than a postage stamp. And so it is a James Bond story. It's 30 pages, very, very quick read. But it's not at all what you would expect if you've only ever seen the films, or if you've even read the James Bond novels that Ian Fleming wrote. He wrote around 10 novels set in the 1950s into the 1960s, and he passed away after the films had started, but right around the time that I believe Goldfinger was released in the mid-1960s. I've read pretty much all of his novels over the years, so dating back to even, I think, reading in high school, maybe middle school. I think I may have read Moonraker in middle school, done a book report on it. Now that I think back. But The Living Daylights is really unlike the films or even the other novels by Ian Fleming. It doesn't have a secret agent who's trotting around the world to exotic locales with incredible technologies and just seducing women left and right and gambling and having a confrontation with this ridiculous evil villain with a mastermind plan. It is, in fact, almost the opposite of that. It is very. It's a short story about a very workmanlike secret agent, a man whose job is not to the license to kill aspect of the James Bond character and the double O agent character is really the focus of the story. It seems to be very much of a piece with the spy fiction of writers like John le Carre or Len Deighton. There's violence. There's this aspect of a little bit of glamour, but really it's about these individuals who are out working in dangerous places. This one's set in Berlin during the Cold War, before the passageway between East and West Berlin has been labeled Checkpoint Charlie. And so I'd like to read just a short, a couple paragraphs from the book that kind of give a piece of what's actually happening in this story, and perhaps will help others understand why I just really appreciate it so much. And so this is James Bond's boss, M, speaking to him about this mission. They'd obviously prefer to do a smoother job with machine guns and what have you, but it's quiet in Berlin at the moment, and apparently the word is it's got to stay so. Anyway, M shrugged, they've got confidence in this trigger operator, and that's the way it's going to be. Where do I come in, sir? James Bond had guessed the answer. Guessed why M was showing his dislike of the whole business. This was going to be dirty work, and Bond, because he belonged to the 00 section, had been chosen for it. Perversely, Bond wanted to force M to put it in black and white. This was going to be bad news, dirty news, and he didn't want to hear it from one of the section officers, or even from the chief of staff. This was to be murder. All right, let M bloody well say so. Where do you come in, 007? M looked coldly across the desk. You know where you come in. You've got to kill this sniper, and you've got to kill him before he gets 272. That's all. Is that understood? The clear blue eyes remained cold as ice. But Bond knew that they remained so only with an effort of will. M didn't like sending any man to a killing, but when it had to be done, he always put on this fierce, cold act of command. Bond knew why. It was to take some of the pressure, some of the guilt, off the killer's shoulders. And so you can kind of see from just that one page within the 30 pages of the story, this is not a glamorous, super high-speed chase adventure spy novel. It's very much a mood piece. Most of it is set within a small, somewhat dingy apartment in West Berlin, looking out over the demilitarized zone where an agent is going to try and sneak across, and the only real interactions Bond has is with some other British intelligence officer who's stationed there in West Berlin, who seems to be even more mechanical and workmanlike and stiff upper lip. And they converse as minimally as possible. We're in Bond's mind a little bit, but it really does not feel like what you normally think of when you think of a James Bond story. It's a fantastic crime story. It has just a sense of dread that hovers over the entire story. We know obviously that Bond's not going to die, but is he going to successfully take out the other sniper? Is he going to commit this, what he truly regards and what his superior truly regards as a murder? Is he going to do that and do it before the opposition's, the KGB sniper successfully kills the British agent who's trying to get back to West Berlin? Or is he going to commit this murder but have this agent die? There's just this absolute sense of dread hovering over the entire story around what that type of work would actually mean. And the tension just continues to build and continues to build and continues to build in very effective ways. We're given glimpses of Bond's, experience there in Berlin, but even he doesn't seem to be really want to eat anything or drink anything fancy because he's just so uncomfortable with what he's been asked to do. And it's just such a perfect mood that's sustained through those 30 pages. Of course, I don't want to give away the ending. But the phrase "the living daylights" does pop up there sort of on the final page. And if you've seen the film, it really is nothing like the film beyond a title and a couple of characters who share names with characters in the film. And it's really like none of other Ian Fleming's novels. The short work is it really almost seems to be the writing of someone else, because it is just such a focused and almost dense piece of writing, the way that we're told very little, and yet it opens up this entire world and this entire set of feelings that this character must be encountering and experiencing throughout the 4 days that the story takes place over. So it is a story, it is one of my favorites, it's one I return to frequently, and it's one that I highly, highly recommend if you enjoy crime fiction, if you enjoy spy stories. It's half an hour of reading and well worth your time. So I don't know what's up next on the list, but I'll be back soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.